Hello my brothers and sisters of the Order, welcome back to the Order. I'm Celtic Templar, and welcome back to another History in Firearms. And today, y'all, we're going to be covering none other than the Vector V93, the clone of the HK93. Now, many of you might wonder, Templar, what is the Vector V93? Simple, this gun is actually by far one of the weirdest, but also one of the coolest designs. Pretty much, it's a clone off of the HK93, which itself is somewhat of the civilian version of the Vector, or should I say HK54. Now, there are other designs, but this is pretty much the civilian use design. This design is actually, well, as follows as a civilian gun. In other words, this is only in semi-automatic. Now, this is actually called the Vector V93 for a reason. This is actually the clone of the HK93, and these were actually made in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, weird thing is, though, is the sad part, Utah no longer makes Vector no longer makes these guns since somebody had acquired these illegally somehow off the black market and ended up in a shooting up in a bank somewhere in New England. So, yeah, these guns, though, are still pretty much very rare to find, especially here in the States. Now, people automatically say, Templar, why don't you just get a HK gun? Well, that's the problem. Bush Sr. stated that we can't actually own said HK-style firearms, but he said nothing about clones. So, clone model. Now, people would automatically look at this, like my cousin would look at this, and say that it's the MP5's bigger brother. They're not wrong, because one, it looks like an MP5, but it's bigger and a lot more powerful. This fires the .223 Remington. Now, people automatically think you could put 5.56 in these guns. Don't do it. It could accidentally burst the barrel. You don't know what could. Now, the weird thing is, this is supposed to be the assault rifle version of the HK91, or the HK, or pretty much, if we stay in the United States, is the PTR-91, which is a big giant battle rifle that fires .308, since this thing fires .556, or in this case, for this, is .223 Remington. The HK93, on the other hand, fires .556. This fires an American-style bullet. Now, while I was firing this gun, I found out that this thing has little recoil due to its design. Most guns that I fired that fire .223 Remington actually have a bigger kick. This one did not, and that's because of its design version. And what do I mean by this? Simple. This actually weighs around 5 to 8 pounds. Its action is the roller delayed blowback, meaning it's like an MP5 with a locking mechanism. That is actually really cool. And this also means it's just like a Sturmgewehr 44, or in other words, MP44, or STG as some people call it. The sights are barrel sights. If I don't know what barrel sights means, it means these weird sight systems that we see on the rear and the front. And that means when it comes to aiming at through these, especially like you put it on, say, like number 4 range, what you have to do is the following. Twist these type of systems around and make sure to look through the tube and make sure you see the outline of the said foresight range. But this is kind of what I would call my personal defense, home defense gun, just in case the government come a knocking. So yeah. Now, this gun, as you all can understand, is a somewhat really impressive designed firearm that the German military designed in order to protect, the West Bloc of Germany against the Soviet Union. And the fact is, these were highly used by the German soldiers and German citizens. And the weird thing is, the barrel length is around 16.97 inches. And the weird thing is about these guns is they're beyond awesome. Don't just take my word for it. Take the word of the United Nations, as well as even NATO, military police, and even police themselves, seeing to the fact that this gun has been seen in more than a few conflicts. The only film I've ever seen it in is a few police battlefield areas. Like, you see it in some battle obstruction areas, like, say, in parts of, like, cop films. You sometimes see cops or gangsters using these guns. That's good. That's because these are easy to get their hands on. I've also seen these in some IRA war films, like Irish liberation films, whatever you're going to call it nowadays. And as well, I've also seen it also in the movie Black Hawk Down. Now, the majority of people that use these guns, though, are actually the, well, police forces or United Nations. Now, the weird thing is about these things, I do have to put out here, just like every HK gun, this is really cool. When you fire a bullet out of this, it always shoots the casing out at a 2-degree angle, which is hilarious. In other words, you got your buddy to your right side, guess what? You don't have to worry about the brass hitting him. It's just getting flinged out the window somewhere. So that's kind of why these guns are used so much. And the fact is, they were actually used and exported, especially the HK93 and the Vector V93, were actually exported majorly in parts of South America or Central America, and as well parts of Canada and the United States, as well as parts of Africa, the Middle East, and majority parts of Europe. The reason being was for security forces, and the fact is, the United Nations and as well NATO security forces use these guns now more than they do use the FNFAL. And the weird thing is, there is always a little bit of a competition between the FAL and the G3 or PTR series, the HK91s, but the thing is, this is the assault rifle version, which is why majority of a lot of countries rather prefer this than either one of those guns. See, the fact they're a little easier to get used to and they're a lot lighter. And one major thing I really do love about these guns is always this. You just gotta love that feeling of smacking your your cocking hammer, because that actually feels good. Let me show you real quick. You gotta actually, that is just beautiful. Now, people automatically are, what the hell? Why would you smack it? Well, one, it does lock the said bolt system into place. And there is a really cool thing about this. One, I could actually put my thumb through this area and still actually see the top end of my said sights, which means this thing is perfectly dialed in as usual. Now, one major thing I do have to put out here, though, is many people don't realize on how the gun is to be used and manufactured and such. However, the one reason I got this was I love the design. I love H&K. I don't know why. I am an H&K guy down the line since I was very young. And in such, one reason I do love these things is because of this. This gun is not just an assault rifle, but personal defense, military type weapon, but it's also been used as a sniper rifle. In fact, that's why the United Nations and such, as the H&K gun type and NATO, have actually asked none other than, well, Hecker and Koch to make a gun that would easily stop the Soviet forces, especially in the Eastern Bloc. So they designed this one with a bipod system. You know, I am planning on getting a railing scope model for this, for it to be a little more badass looking, but I don't know why. Holding it like it is now feels automatically badass. Now, there is one problem about putting these things away, is the fact, the only problem is about these guns I have heard is that they jam easily. I don't know if that's true or not. Seeing the fact that in-range kind of goes a little above and beyond with their mud, that might say something. But still, I don't think they've tried a V93 or because one, they've tried that with a PTR91, but they haven't tried it with a Vector V93 or an HK93. So maybe they may need to try something like this. No, I am not saying that they should do it with mine. So yeah. But the weird thing is about these guns is this weird parade bar piece here. Now people automatically ask, what are you talking about? I don't see it. Well, you can only just barely see it right here. And this was a weird design for parade use. In other words, you just lock it in this weird little guard hilt piece when you're marching. I don't know why, but this is funny as hell that this one does have it in. was actually used majorly by the border system of usage of soldiers. Now, does the United States military use this? No. Does what military would? Well, Germans. In fact, the German military still somewhat uses these, other than the G36 or G36CE. But the thing is, a lot of them rather prefer using the old style form of combat weapons. For one major reason, some idiots, like a criminal or whatever, whenever they get their hands on this, they don't know how to operate these guns. Now, this is a loaded 223 magazine. Now, be warned and be informed, I'm not going to cock the hammer or whatever. I'm just showing what I mean by this. And this is the following, that criminals don't know how to operate these guns. For one, look at this. It's not even loading in place. I didn't even hit the release valve system right here. Let me show you that real quick. Finger's not even out. Putting it in. And it fell. That's because you have to do the following. Hold back the said bolt system. Take your magazine, like so. Then it's locked in place. So yeah, if a criminal comes in and tries to use my gun, I know one thing, he's not going to be able to use it properly. Lucky for me, I got a gun safe to keep them from doing that. Now, this is a regular style magazine that is unloaded. This mag is fully unloaded. Let me show you real quick, just in case. See, no bullets. This is actually the really cool thing I love about these things, and just the look and feel of these feels awesome. Dry fire, I know. Now, people automatically ask, Templar, would you use this in home defense? Probably yes. Now, why don't you see me take this thing apart, and you'll see why I love this thing so much.
Alright y'all, now we're going to actually take apart our V93 and or HK93 and see how it is properly meant to be taken apart and put back together. Now, maybe you do want to know about this type of form, like how do you actually do this? Well, what you must do is the following. Always make sure the gun is unloaded, and in doing so, always make sure you're on the form of safety. Now, some people actually put it on fire just in case. I don't know why. Because I have heard a lot of times on people doing this. This is very dangerous, so don't do this. Now, what you must do is the following. Take your bolt system like so, and make sure it's cocked back. This actually helps it with the spring system when it's pulled out. Now, the way you actually have to take this thing apart is quite simple and very easy. And that is to actually push these said areas of buttons, as I call them, which are a locking mechanism that you can easily take apart. These are on every HK guns, and this does make it somewhat easy to remove. There is sometimes a problem though when it comes to being stiff, as you can understand. So what I do is I sometimes remove it, push it back in, push it out, until you can easily pull it out. Of course, there are other ways you can also do this, especially by using a pen or something you can fit in here. I find that a little messy because just in case the pen breaks, so I use this metal rod. As you can tell, pushes it right out. Now always, as I said, make sure this said bolt system is back, and it easily helps you push out the said buttstock. You can now and also remove the said firing system, which helps you fire. But as I said, it's best to have this thing, your pretty much selector switch on, well, safety. Next, what we have to do is the following, is by pulling out the said systems of the bolt, and which are slightly easier. Pretty much like so. Now, this part is going to be a little messy and such, so I'm going to get a cloth real quick. yeah, we kind of over-oiled it yesterday and such, so let's get this a little cleaned. Because one, if we don't have it clean enough, it won't exactly work out that much when it comes to putting it back on. Now this type of system is the entire bolt system, and the way we see it right here, I want you all to take a good look at these little rollers. This is the roller delayed action, and this will be very informative later. Now what I'm going to do is the following is turn it, which as soon as we turn it, like so, it becomes somewhat difficult because it does lock in place. As we pull this one out, there's our roller delay action. Next is our pin. And there's our primary pin. Get that in the frame for y'all real quick. But yes, these are pretty much our locking systems of the bolt system. So we just easily put it in, and every time it's locked in place, pretty much it's ready to fire. Next, actually even comes a really cool part, is you can actually switch out the said hand guards pretty much very easily by pulling out a said pin. And there we have the exposed barrel. Now, some people actually rather use the regular design version. Me, though, I use this version because, one, this is, I don't know why, triangular grip handles are actually my favorites. And with the design on the said bipod system, this actually is pretty incredible. Now, as we can understand, the design system of pretty much, it works just like that of a Sturmgewehr 44. That's what the Germans designed it for. And that's kind of why I do love this design of version of guns and the entirety of series of Cold War firearms, because one, they're beyond beautiful, they're 100% badass, so yeah, that design of action, you don't need to worry about your hand being over this area, because one, this is not the bolt system, it's the said cocking hammer system, but it's not the bolt system itself. So, in such, unlike with other guns, you don't have to worry much about the situation of dust getting inside the said tube system. So in fact, many people do wonder, what about mud tests and such? Do you put mud in here? No, because one, that's not where it goes. And to the fact is, this is why it's kind of hilarious to understand why these guns still actually do this. But still, it's pretty impressive. So, now, many of you are also asking, okay Templar, how do you put this gun back together? Well, I'm glad you asked. You usually follow the same system, only backwards. It's the matter of putting these things on, though, is the problem. Like so. Take my locking lug real quick. You gotta make sure that you have it leveled in, otherwise it won't go in. There we go. Next comes our bolt system itself. What you must do is the following, is make sure, one, these are clean enough to be put back in. Me, though, I only leave them a slightly bit, so that way they still have enough oil. What you must do is put the said system on here. And this is where the bolt system ends up going through. You just put it in. Now, there is a system on the bolt that in which you see this little locking lug mechanism right here. This actually tells you where to properly place it, like so. And in such, you can easily manage to lock it in. Put it in a certain area, like it is. Then what you must do is start the flowing system of clockwise. Now comes the hard part, is trying to make sure this is in the proper place. Too far back and it will end up having the locking lugs open, which this is one thing you don't want. So what you must do is be very gentle with this, and as well be very prepared to place it in, like so. Because you gotta show a little bit of force in order to keep it in there. Because see, there's my point. Since I pushed it too far forward, the locking systems ended up, well, projecting outward. So I got to be very careful at trying to put this thing in. And there we are. Because, yeah, any of you that actually first buy this, you're wondering, did I break it or whatever? No. This happens a lot with these bolt systems. Which, you got to make sure that they're firmly against the said system right here with our little block system. So what we got to do, because I always use a rag rather than my own hands, because one, this gets very slippery. And there we go, we're back in place. It's properly back in place, as you can tell. The one way you can easily tell is of where it is. As you can tell right here, the bolt system is properly up against our said block. So this means that it's properly put, easy to put back in. Because otherwise, if it wasn't, you wouldn't be able to put it in at all. This one, easy to put in. Close your piece in to make sure you have it ready. Take your buttstock. Have it down so that way you can easily place this said locking pin in place, like so. And there we go. It's ready to be used yet again. There we go.
Well, I hope y'all liked that little review on how to take these things apart and put them back together. But now, people will automatically say, Templar, did you do a couple of bit of firing? That I have. You'll soon see why and how I love this thing. And just getting down on the ground with it, I could feel why this thing is almost like a sniper rifle. And the weird thing is, it feels more of like a carbine. That's because it is. Now, some people want to make the thing, oh, but Templar, this gun doesn't look like it would do anything to kill my opponent. Well, the design on the said safety mechanism is just like that of a said M16, which is why the Germans took that design and put it on their own guns. And you gotta admit, it was kind of a good idea. But the weird thing is, the United States police force used these things for a long time. The only reason our police forces stopped using them was apparently Bush Sr. called for them to be removed from the United States. Thing is though, luckily gun manufacturers had the police back, and they designed the V93. So yeah, the HK93s are no longer allowed in the United States because of Bush Sr. I don't know why. This is the weirdest idiocy he could ever come up with. But yeah. Majority of Americans rather prefer the V93 or any type of PTRs or German manufactured guns because of that design of system of gas tube. It looks just like a Sturmgewehr. That's because it was copied from the Sturmgewehr in order to make this style of gun. And the weird thing is, it still is by far kind of my favorite gun right now. Although I am still 50-50 on it, so, and you'll see why with our other video coming up on our new Galil assault rifle. Yeah, stay tuned for that one. But now people would automatically ask, Templar, is this gun properly usable for combat use? Yes, this design of firearm was pretty much used. Now, as I said, this is the civilian market version, and in such, for a civilian market gun, this is perfect for civilian use. And the fact is, I could already see if, say for example, there's a gang or whatever trying to attack my home, boom, I'm breaking this out, bang, 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 perfectly accurate with it, unlike with some other guns. The fact is, this range system on the said rear is kind of the coolest thing ever, because one, you could switch the sights from a 10 range to a 20 to a 30 or a 40. Because one, I have just switched it now to a 30 type range system, which is kind of the cool part. Because one, this is usually the really cool thing about these things. Because one, all I gotta do is twist, boom, it's moved. The one problem is trying to move it when it's where it is right now. So what do I normally keep the sights on? I always keep them on the 10-yard range because one, it makes it a little easier, which I've learned how to actually use it properly for that type of sight system. So yeah. But why don't you see me running with this bad boy and you'll see how badass this thing is. As much recoil on this one. Switch to the 4 sights. Well, I hope y'all like that. Now, as y'all saw, me and my cousin were loving this thing, and it is beautiful. So, pretty much, I hear many people already asking, Templar, where can I get one of these badass bad boys? Well, I went to Adalbridge. I don't know if they still have them, but I do know they have a lot of PTRs out there, which is the big boy 308 daddy of this bad boy. But if any of y'all want to try and find one of these bad boys, try your local gun store. Hopefully they have them. Because one, these are beautiful works of art for historical firearms. I am lucky as hell I found this bad boy, especially with the handguard and bipod that I love so much. I don't know why. I am a fan of the triangular grip handguard for some reason. I don't know why. It is weird, beyond measure, I know. But that's what I love about these things, and these things are beautiful. It's just a big boy version of the MP5, and that I love so much. But if any of y'all have any firearms that you should be taking a look at in history, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to try and see if I can find them. If any of you have any ideas of other forms of history we should cover related to firearms, please let me know in the comments below also. But if any of y'all have any other information on this gun, also let me know in the comments below as well. If any of y'all want to find more videos on this, I will also leave links down below in the description, so that way you can find out more information about them. Anyways, guys, it's been Celtic Templar. Hope to see y'all in the next one. Like and subscribe for more. And hope to see y'all in the next one. Have a great day, y'all.